I have had an amazing experience with Dr. Treyzon. Ever since I met him, the first time I met him, I went into his office, and unlike most other doctors, he had me sit across from him at a desk in his office where there was also an examination table. He listened to me for close to an hour, describe all of my symptoms, which were, very varied and spanned multiple organ systems. And frankly, previously, I had seen 25, 30 doctors. I've lost count, frankly. And while they weren't all bad, the general vibe I would get was when they realized it was a complicated case, they would often write me off. They would describe it as merely a functional problem, and they would often just try to get me out of their office. Dr. Treyzon was exactly the opposite. The more he realized how complicated my case was, the more interested he seemed to become. He asked me very detailed questions. It was very clear that he was intently listening to everything I said. And from that point on, he really has treated me like family. Whenever I reach out to him, I do have a lot of questions, and I'm always inquiring about test results and more tests that could be done. He corresponds, digitally via his patient portal, and almost always responds within the day. On weekends, he goes above and beyond. I can't say how much it has meant, to have him as my doctor. And, with his help, I was able to, ultimately diagnose my problem. It was a two and a half year odyssey. And without him, I never would have been able to find out what was actually going on. It was only because he was so persistent and willing to do whatever it took that, I did find out what ultimately was going on with his help. When I did discover, what the cause of my symptoms was, I was pretty scared. And true to form, he immediately called, the relevant specialist, whose wife was actually going into labor, and the specialist called me immediately to reassure me and discuss prognosis and treatment, and basically just calm me down, while his wife was going into labor. Dr. Treyzon has been incredible. I myself am a medical student, and had become a little bit disillusioned with, a lot of the doctors that I had met with. But, after getting to be his patient and work with him, it really has, reminded me why I want to go to medicine. And he's one of the good ones. And I can say that confidently, that he's like that with all of his patients. And his patients are always his first priority. So he's a great doctor, and I can't recommend him enough.